What is up, everybody? Welcome to Ready Bet Action. If you're joining us for the first time, my name is Eric, hanging out here with Stefan, our other partner, Mike, not making it with us for this first episode, but we're excited to give you a primer of some futures for this March Madness tournament, get into some picks we have for some teams we like to get to certain levels of this thing, and we'll give you a little bit of the why. But before we do, Stefan, just hit me with like your favorite March Madness tournament, and last year's UConn championship can't count because you're a UConn fan, so you're biased. I guess that can't be from a UConn thing.
Yeah, it's actually the first tournament I ever watched. So I'm not originally from this country. I went to high school here and stuff, but I went to high school in Van, Texas, where there's not it's just football is God and no one watched basketball. So it wasn't until later in life where I got into basketball. And I just knew I hated Duke because everyone hated Duke. And it was Michigan State versus Duke in the Sweet 16, or maybe it was even just the round of 32. And it was like Shannon Brown and Maurice Ager and these guys. And Davis, a big, tall center, big white guy, passing the ball. And they upset Duke, and it was so much fun. And I just was hooked, just like as a diehard sports fan, that you can give me this many games in such little time. Like, it's just a beautiful couple of weeks. And,
I think everybody, man. I love that everyone just kind of gets into this and everyone's just watching basketball. Like, most people haven't watched a second of college basketball until
What's your moment?
This point in the year. Mine by far is the Gordon Hayward Butler run in 2010. Gordon Hayward, like, definitely was one of my favorite college players of all time, taking Butler and then literally hucking up that half court shot, and it rims out. It would have beat Duke for the national title. Like, Cinderella story, to win the national title very rarely happens. And so, like, Butler or Gordon Hayward throwing that up from half court, and like, I think we were all like, oh, this is over, and then it almost went in, and it was so close, but Duke ends up getting their national title there. So yeah, that's definitely my favorite moment, just my favorite Cinderella run for sure. Cool. Well, before we dive into some of our like futures picks, so if you're joining us for the first time, we're a betting show. You might be able to tell by the name. We're going to give you some bets that we like, some future bets to make. So if you go to your DraftKings account, whatever app you might use, you go to your casino, go to futures, you can find all kinds of stuff. Bet people to make the Final Four, bet for the MVP, bet for making the Elite 8, Sweet 16. Let's just talk about who we have in the Final Four and who our champion is. Stefan, who you got for your four? We haven't talked about this, so I'm actually excited for this reveal because we did not pre-show this. I'm very curious who you have.
My Final Four is a little bland, maybe, but I've got
mine is absolutely bland.
Coming out of the South, I've got Michigan State. I just think they're going to be able to rebound their way into the Final Four. I think it's a pretty nice setup for them until they meet Auburn. But honestly, I could see Auburn getting, I could see them losing along the way. And then I've got Florida coming out in what one is that? The West. And then in the Midwest, I've got Tennessee. And I have Duke coming out in the East. So 2 1s and 2 2s, like, no one likes that. It's pretty boring.
I got 3 1s and a 2, man. I'm not getting creative at all with this one, for sure. Like, on that, I call it the left side of the bracket if you're looking at it. But I got Florida and Auburn going to the Final Four. Florida, I think, has one of the easier paths to get to the Final Four. Maryland, I guess I got Maryland and St. John's, but I think Florida is the better team there.
And UConn, baby.
So all SEC, I don't have them going too far, but I do think they're gonna not. I don't think they're gonna get upset like everyone says they are in the first round. So Florida, Auburn. I got the 2 number 1 seeds coming out of there, and then I have the SEC on one side. And I have the ACC on the other side with Duke and Clemson. I think Clemson is a very underrated second best team in the ACC coming into this. Disrespectful 5 seed, in my opinion. I think they sneak in there. Duke ultimately is my national title winner, though. I think, I get to void this. It's not really, I guess we're not betting anything right now, right?
No.
So this isn't a pick, but I will just say if Cooper Flagg gets hurt or like and ends up having like a nagging injury, then like yeah, I take it back. But they have an insane team without him. But I think that might be the difference for them. Not I don't see them not winning it if he's healthy. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, and they're the odds-on favorite to win it.
Yep.
To bet them even to go to the Elite Eight is like minus 260. Like there's no.
Yeah, that's so
crazy.
So as you can tell, our picks in the end are pretty boring for that. But I think our futures are more interesting, and I think
Before we go there, I just wanted to give a couple of bracket tips that I just like to. I don't win every year by any means, but I win more than I should. Just because there's some smart stuff you can do. Like when you're picking your upsets, be careful how far you have them go. Like if you pick a 12-5 upset, like, always happens, that's great. But make sure you don't just pencil in, oh, well, I like that team to continue on a great run. Like watch not only who they're playing in your bracket, but who the potential other teams could be. So for example, like we know BYU plays VCU in Denver to start. Well, if you've got Montana upsetting Wisconsin, do you think they can beat either BYU or VCU? You want to take both of those into account and not just whoever you think won that game. You really got to be cognizant of what other outcomes could be there. I also think this is the time of year, and you say this a lot when you're talking about your bets. Coaching matters so much in the tournament. You see coaches make great halftime adjustments. You see great coaches coach their teams up at the end of games. End of games are so crucial. And in college, you see so many mistakes just because they don't have enough time to practice. So I think coaching becomes a big thing. And then what's a team that can actually go on a run? Like if you're picking a Cinderella team, like do they have a path? Do they have the type of player that can take over game night after night after night? Because that's important because they're playing back to back twice, So and then the other thing I would say is don't count out the play-in teams because every year since the first four started, and we are going to be doing our bets for the first four in our next episode, but every time one of those teams ends up going on a bit of a run. So don't just automatically, because you don't know who the team is going to be yet, just automatically choose whoever it might be. Like, I'm just going to take Iowa State because I don't know if it's going to be UNC or not Xavier. You know what I'm saying, though.
Oh, spoiler. Yeah. Spoiler for that episode. Man, I got UNC winning the play-in and winning their first round game against Ole Miss. Then they're going to lose Iowa State. But I'm just saying, like, I don't think those play-in teams aren't necessarily like just first round outs. And to your point, I'm just like scrolling through my bracket. I don't have a double digit team going past the Sweet 16. And that's typically how I roll too with strategy is like, look, man, could be a fun story if one of these teams gets to the Sweet 16. It doesn't happen a lot to get past that. But yeah, trying to find that Cinderella team who actually has the path to get to an Elite 8 or Final 4 is really fun. And if you can do it, then good on you. I think that's great. I definitely focus. So when I'm looking at like when you're looking at brackets, and I know it's not a bracket breakdown show, but if you're like an office pool or something, every bracket challenge, you get more points as the games go. Right. So you can kill it, or you could absolutely kill it the first two rounds. But if you haven't picked 6 or 7 of the Elite 8, then you are not going to win as much as someone else who's like nailed their Elite 8 and Final 4 in those things. So picking a bunch of high seeded teams to go to those, like you're really hurting yourself down the road. So I actually look at my bracket as like, okay, realistically, who's going to be here? I want the most teams I can in the Elite 8 and Final 4, so I don't have to worry about winning my championship game even. I won last year my office pool, and I didn't even win the championship game. You don't have to win the championship game. If you have a good Elite 8 and Final 4, you do not have to win that championship game. So
helps,
I agree. That's how I look at it too. Let's talk a little bit. Let's move into betting strategy though, and how we look at value for betting. So we have some futures here. However, there's some other teams that you're like, oh man, well, I'll just put all my money on Auburn. to get to the Final Four, and like you really believe in that, or like, why am I not just betting Duke to get to the Final Four? Like, first of all, the juice is terrible, but also like you will do much better betting Duke in some form or fashion every single game than you will betting them to get to the Final Four. So you're better off, especially after their first game. The first game, good luck finding any value. But after that, you can bet the spread. You can take them, like you're going to see me do in our next episode. You can take them on a money line paired with another team on the money line to get you some plus money. Like, there's ways to do it that will get you much better value betting Duke all the way through the tournament, as opposed to like betting a future. And then if you bet your future and you put all your money on the future, who knows, man? Injuries, Cooper Flagg just got banged up, like all kinds of stuff. You don't know what could happen. So instead of putting on all your money on like a really poorly juiced or over juiced future, I should say, you're actually better just taking it one game at a time with the teams that don't give you as much value.
Yeah, and I think part of that too is like, who are they projected to play? Like Duke against a Baylor team, like it's still going to be like pretty.
Yeah,
you're not going to want to just play that straight up. But if you bet that straight up, you take all the money you win and then you roll it over to their next game, bet money line again. Yeah, it ends up working out a lot better for you, because they could be playing some tougher teams than getting them at minus 260 for the Elite Eight. So I'm with you there. There are, I should say, two teams that I actually do like the value on at Sweet 16.
Let's do it.
Yeah, based on just like their path and the number. The first one, I like Wisconsin at plus 100 an awful lot. They start off versus Montana, where they're minus 2,400 favorites. The line is something obscene. Do you have the line in front of you for that game? I will look it up.
Pulled up my scores, man. I did not pull them up for individual games. I was just looking at my future lines.
Yeah. So Wisconsin, boop, boop, boop. They're minus 16.5 that first game. Okay. So that one they should win, no problem. Their next game, Wisconsin is either going to play BYU or VCU. Both are really, really good teams. They're going to battle each other to death in Denver on Thursday. And I think that Tanjay's just too good of a player. I think Wisconsin's going to roll. They look really good in the Big Ten tournament. So the number on that game versus VCU or BYU is going to be pretty far from plus 100. So essentially you're already getting that Wisconsin versus BYU or VCU at plus 100, because they're definitely going to beat Montana. So Wisconsin's my first. My next one is Oregon at plus 240. And I like them because essentially plus 250, sorry. If they beat Liberty, they play Arizona, right? They beat Arizona in the Pac-12 tournament. They beat them earlier this year. So I do like Oregon's to match up well against them. But if for some reason, like we get to that moment and I don't want to roll with it still, I can play the other side of it and hedge pretty nicely there with Arizona. So I like both Oregon and who did I say? Wisconsin as separate ones. Wisconsin at plus 100 and then Oregon at plus 250.
Yeah, Oregon plus 250 seems like really, really good value for how good of a tournament coach Dana Altman is. I'm not impressed with Oregon's season, but I'm an Oregon hater. As you know, I mean, I don't think they had an impressive season, but they have had unimpressive seasons before and made the Sweet 16. So,
and they're huge. Like they're huge.
Yeah. They're a big team. All right, I'm gonna give you a couple Elite Eight picks. Give me St. John's to make it to the Elite Eight. Man, this is such a crazy story, man. Rick Pitino has actually come in and made this program a borderline contender, man. I'm not gonna be sitting here shocked if St. John's like in the Final Four. Their path is a little hard to get to like a Final Four. But here's pretty much what I have happening with St. John's is they play Omaha. I think that's just an automatic win, 2 seed, playing a 15 seed, all kinds of reasons why they're going to win that. Then they get to play they're either play Kansas or Arkansas. Kansas is very down this year. Arkansas, I'm pretty convinced is only in here because John Calipari is their coach. I don't know how this team got a bid. And I have watched some Arkansas games. I am not impressed. Give me St. John's to win their first 2 games. I know that's like looks like some stiff competition, but this is not a traditional Kansas team. This is not a good John Calipari team. And then they are going to play Drake. I have Drake or Texas Tech in the Elite Eight or in the Sweet 16. So I actually have Drake and Drake being the deepest double digit, or Drake and Liberty, because we disagree on that. I have Drake being the deepest double digit team to get there. And so I think St. John's ends Drake's run in the Sweet 16 and makes it to the Elite Eight. And then second, give me a St. Mary's Sweet 16. So sorry, St. John's is at plus 210. So great value. St. Mary's Sweet 16 at plus 240. And then I'm going to give you a less surprising one because it's more boring. St. Mary's gets to play again, another SEC team. I don't know how you have like a terrible losing conference record like Vanderbilt, such an unimpressive team that they are playing. And St. Mary's is the best team coming out of the West Coast Conference. So they get to, I think they beat Vanderbilt in the first round. Then they have to beat an Alabama team that has had some struggles. And I know that's a stretch, and Alabama is a 2 seed. I get it. But I love the value of St. Mary's upsetting Alabama in the second round at plus 240 to get to the Sweet 16. Remember, they don't have to win in the Sweet 16. They just got to get there. So I like those.
So you think the line would be less than that? Obviously, I just feel like Alabama could get steamed if they have a really good performance. But yeah, it's like I like it.
You could bet St. Mary's like money line against Alabama because they're probably going to be underdogs.
It's going to be fun. Oh man!
Either way, I like these. And last but not least, I just feel like I just wanted to throw a free money bet out there because I was just surprised it's plus. I was just surprised it's plus 100, which is Tennessee. Tennessee to make the Elite Eight. So Tennessee to make the Elite Eight is plus 100. You can find ways to bet them, and like they're going to probably play UCLA in the second round or Utah State. They have such an easy path to the Sweet 16. And then they're either playing probably Kentucky or Illinois there, and they are the better team. They just won the SEC, like the best basketball conference. They won their tournament. So I just think you might as well, like, as much as I talked about, you can bet them through it. You also might as well just get some free money at Tennessee to make the Elite Eight, because that one actually feels really good to me.
Can I tell you how I'm playing Tennessee? I've got either one of two ways. Tennessee to make the Sweet 16, parlayed with either Houston or Auburn. Take your pick. If you pick Auburn, it's at minus 141. If you pick Houston, it's at minus 132. I like both of those.
Well, we parlayed all three of them.
I'm going to probably round robin that along with this next one. We're going to take Michigan State and Alabama because I think Alabama is going to beat St. Mary's. And you get that at plus 133. But if you didn't like Alabama, you could take Michigan State, Tennessee, Auburn, and Houston, put them in a little round robin, and as long as 3 of the 4 hit, you'll make good money. If all 4 hit, you'll be making a lot of money. So yeah.
Man, it's gonna be that. Dude, honestly, that St. Mary's Alabama game, please, Lord, that might be the best game. St. Mary's is they are the Gonzaga coming out of that conference this year, and they are playing really well. All right, let's get to the rundown. Thanks for making it through with us. If you made it to the end of the show, here we go. We run things down for you. Don't forget first to follow us on YouTube, hit the like, subscribe button, comment with us, talk to us. We'd love to talk basketball with you. Talk to us over there on the YouTube channel. Also on our podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts, download, like, subscribe. We're on all the socials as well, Instagram, TikTok, and X, but go follow us on those other platforms. Let's go ahead and run this down. Stefan, do you want to get us started with your picks, or should we?
Yeah, I'll roll right here. I'm going to go with Michigan State and Alabama to both make the Sweet 16 at plus 133. I'm also going to take Tennessee and Houston to both make the Sweet 16 at minus 132. I'm also going to take Wisconsin to make the Sweet 16 at plus 100. And finally, my Oregon Ducks to make the Sweet 16 at plus 250.
Cool. I'm going to take St. John's to make the Elite Eight plus 210. Tennessee to make the Elite Eight at even money plus 100. We disagree on who's making the Sweet 16 between St. Mary's and Alabama, but I'm going to take St. Mary's at plus 240 and get that sweet money. But that is it. We will see you all over for our first round one episode next. And so make sure to get over there and get all your picks in. We will talk to y'all later.